Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We all be is under the hell once again, the one and only, the true people's judge, people's champ, advocate for the people, truth seeker and truth teller, the one and only judge, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. How you doing today?
All right, young man, I'm doing all right.
That's great.
If you were a plant, you could hold your hands out and turn green. It's raining.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's pouring down here in Memphis town. I know the effects of Hurricane Barry. I guess people are feeling it throughout the country in one way or the other. But also, you have some things going on that are very earth-shattering. Like we had those earthquakes in Cali last week. I'm sure it could be contributed to you. So you got some earth-shattering news right now in terms of your getting back on the TV. Can you tell us about that?
I'll be having a new show. The pilots will be airing in the fall. It'll be called Hot Topics with Judge Joe. As far as that earthquake was concerned, the epicenter of the earthquake was out in the middle of the Mojave Desert.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt some shaking in L.A., but it wasn't bad for L.A., and it did not involve the San Andreas Fault. They had one that was 5.4 or 6, 5 point something, and then they had another one, 6.4, and they thought that was the big one, but it was just a prequel. And then they had one that was 7.2 a day and a half later. So, yeah, that's getting up there, but fortunately it was not centered in any population center and nobody got hurt.
And Judge, you was out there, right? Were you out there doing business?
Yeah, I was. Left a little while after, but, you know, it wasn't anything that you felt in L.A. proper.
So was it you?
I mean, it could be felt, but I mean, it was no more than the regular series of shakes that you get on a regular basis living in Southern California.
What was the worst
quake? As a matter of fact, here's what's interesting. They've got the San Andreas Fault, but a bigger fault that is supposed to produce a worse set of earthquakes is right here in Memphis. It's called the New Madrid Fault.
Right.
When it let go back in the 1800s, the Mississippi River ran backwards for 3 whole days, and they felt the shock all the way up in New York City. It was estimated to be 8.3 to 8.6, which is roughly, close to 100 times more powerful than the one that they had in California.
I know one of the quakes formed the Real Foot Lake out in Tennessee, correct? One of the lakes.
That's it. I used to take Boy Scouts up there. You could watch the eagles. They take you on an eagle tour. You drive around the lake on a bus, and they'd have all these eagles perched in the trees, and they'd go fish.
Wow. But what was the worst quake you ever experienced as a Californian?
About what that was, back a long time ago, that was centered close to L.A. It took down some freeways, collapsed a brand new hospital. Fortunately, only 2 people got killed in that. It was interesting. When you get an earthquake in California, they call it earthquake weather because they've got this smog out there that makes everything look like it's slightly foggy, except it's brown instead of gray. And right before you get an earthquake, the view gets crystal clear because the deep harmonics, the vibration causes the sonic vibration that you can't hear, causes the particulate matter that's suspended in the atmosphere to fall out, so you can get unlimited visibility. Now, I was on the side of a hill when the big one hit, and I could see downtown, and you could see the skyscrapers and the ground, and it looked like the ground was water. waves moving through it, big waves.
Wow.
And a skyscraper would rise up and block the view to the one behind, and then it would go down, and then another one would go up as the waves move through the ground.
Wow. Was that scary to you, or you say, well?
Well, it was entertaining. It's hard to keep standing up, because the ground's moving back and forth.
Wow.
But
it's like a real bad B movie or something like that, like one of those B movies. I know that movie that Rock did with San Andreas a couple years ago, that like California's gonna fall into the ocean. Is that true? You think that's true?
Yeah. Well, eventually, part of California is going to separate off from North America and move out into the Pacific, but that'll be a long time from now.
Mm-hmm. Well, why do you think we so calm over here in the Mid-South? Should we be concerned about? I remember, when I was in 5th grade, it was a famous whatever expert that predicted there was going to be like a real bad earthquake. I think back in 91 or 1990.
Yeah, well, one's way overdue here.
Okay. And
there are no earthquake building standards to accommodate an earthquake. So, for example, several of the taller buildings they've got in downtown Memphis are due to come down at anything over a 5.5 or a 6.0.
Wow.
And the New Madrid fault is likely to produce something much more severe. Now, back in 1976, I was in the Derman building, as a matter of fact, working after hours. I was talking to a guy up there, and he had been in Japan, so he knew what an earthquake felt like. Army man. And they had about a 4.4, 4.6 earthquake, and it made the building shake, and the lights in the ceiling vibrated. So it can hit. And if you know what you're feeling, which most people around here do, every now and then you can feel a tremor in Memphis. Last time I felt one was 2-3 years ago. Most people around here wouldn't recognize it for what it is.
Yeah, I know. I just can't feel those things. I know back in 2008 they had a earthquake. My sister in St. Louis fell out the bed, and you could feel it in Memphis all the way up through St. Louis through the fault line, but I couldn't feel nothing. This is back in 2008 when that happened.
If you're outdoors and you're walking around, likely as not you won't feel anything.
Okay.
And the St. Louis problem is the same here. It's on the New Madrid fault. It's a bigger one than the San Andreas fault.
So will Memphis be mostly underwater then? Like New Orleans, Katrina?
No, not underwater. It wouldn't be underwater. The elevation is too high. But what's likely to happen is a lot of these buildings will come down, power lines will be damaged and down, trees will come down, and there will be a lot of residential property damage.
So let me ask you this.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking, when you said that, I'm thinking like we're not prepared. I think about what happened in Houston a couple of summers ago with the flood. Are these really man-made disasters versus...
Hello, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was asking you, do you feel like with these natural disasters or acts of God, is it really more on the humans? Like, is it like man-made disasters out of
greed? Depends on what it was. Earthquakes are not a product of climatical change. That's just, there are active tectonic plates on the planet. This is an active, alive planet. Many others in the solar system are dead. They don't have any tectonic activity. We've got a molten iron core that's spinning at high speed that sets up a magnetic field that protects us from cosmic rays and ionizing radiation from the sun. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, or we'd be very different than we are now. So that's a good thing. It's just that the continents move around, the tectonic plates move, and that's just the reality of being here on Earth. Now, some of the other climatic things that are things that deal with climate, yes, global warming is a product of human activity. but it's not the first time in the planet's history that organisms have caused a profound change in the atmosphere. For example, there's a deadly pathogen known as botulism, all right? Mm-hmm. Botulism cannot exist in an oxygen environment. At one point, the Earth did not have an oxygen-rich environment, and most of the organisms, of which botulism is representative, could not take oxygen without dying off. But then we got green algae that started producing oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, and it killed off most of the life that was on Earth at the time, and it got replaced by our very remote ancestors that led to us and we need oxygen. If you've ever gone out and exercised very, very vigorously and felt sick to your stomach like you want to throw up and started seeing gray and yellow, that's because you've run out of the ability of your long muscles to get enough oxygen to remain aerobic, and you go anaerobic, which changes from metabolism to fermentation, which is the ancient mechanism left over in you from a time when organisms could not deal with the environment.
Oh, you kind of broke up at the end. I was trying to.
Okay, in other words, what was going on is that's a carryover from your ancient part being descended from organisms that could not deal with an oxygen environment and had to deal with fermentation in order to produce the necessary energy. Well, you will do that if you go anaerobic. That means you exceed your body's ability to get a sufficient intake of oxygen. You can do it for a short period of time, and trained athletes can do it readily and for longer than most, but it causes an intense lactic acid buildup, and you feel sick to your stomach, like you're going to puke. But, see, that's because we had green algae. Now, humans have become that same kind of factor, and we are dumping carbon-based emissions into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is building up. It won't be the first time that the planet has done that. But
Joe, you said it's kind of breaking up. Like it's kind of you said we're causing global warming.
Yeah, but see, it won't be the first time. But when you cause this global warming, what has happened in the past is on frequent occasion, a whole lot of life on the planet went extinct.
Mm-hmm.
And that could happen with us, too, because you can create famine, drought, rising ocean levels that take away a lot of land that is currently occupied by people that won't be there because it'll be underwater. That's not the first time this has happened. There's also an interesting prospect of, it was in the movie Day After Tomorrow, and the science was valid. You can produce an ice age. And Antarctic ice cores have revealed that ice ages don't take thousands of years to occur. They can occur as quickly as a 3 to 7 year period. If the global warming slows down what they call a deep ocean current. It keeps England, for example, warm. When the current passes going north, and it gets to the Arctic, it chills and it drops, building up speed, which drives the current. It goes all the way through the Atlantic and back around to the Pacific. But because the Arctic ice caps are melting, the water is not as, doesn't have the salinity, so it's not as dense, so the fall of the chilled water column is not as fast as it otherwise would be. And it's falling quite quickly, and there's a possibility at the rate it is falling to switch over to an ice age in the next 10 years, theoretically. So that would be everything's frozen up and you have ice sheets and glaciers forming again, a new ice age. And as a matter of fact, geologically, we are in the middle of what they call an interstitial which is a period between ice ages or a break in an ice age, and that's where we are right now. So we've had all kinds of climatic realities that we ignore. Humans have become not just subject to nature, but have become a force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are all kinds of other things out there. There's a giant, supergiant red star not too far away known as Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing all of the signs of getting ready to collapse and turn into a supernova. Now, if the axis of that star is pointed in the wrong direction when that happens, we won't find out about it until 5 to 6 years after it has happened. And we'll find out about it at the same time the planet gets fried by very intense radiation. So all life on the planet could get wiped out in a stroke. Okay, there are asteroids out there that can hit comets, and that's what happened to the dinosaurs. One hit 66 million years ago in the Yucatan Peninsula area, which is where Cancun, Mexico is located now. They found the crater, and it wiped out everything very quickly. So that could happen again. All sorts of things could go on. So it's not safe being on the planet Earth, and it always makes me get a little angry when I hear these people, oh, but my God, we have a right to feel safe. Well, damn fool, where in the hell have you been? You live on the planet Earth. In addition to the cosmic danger, you could get hit by a lightning bolt. You could be in California and get wiped by an earthquake. You could be elsewhere and get hit by a tornado, a cyclone, a hurricane, tsunami. When there's an earthquake elsewhere, you could get hit by a typhoon. All sorts of things can occur. So it's not safe living on the planet Earth. And you have no right to expect it being safe, because what makes it dangerous for humans is what makes the planet livable in the first place.
I'm going to ask you this, Judge. You don't think that fracking can have an effect on causing more earthquakes to happen?
That, not much.
Okay.
You see, tectonic activity evens out over the eons. See, we think in terms of, oh man, God lived to be 97 years old. He's old. But see, that's not even an eye blink.
Mm-hmm.
See, this planet is 4.5 billion years old. The solar system is about 6 billion years old. Life's been around for about 3.8 billion. Those are the earliest traces they found, and it probably has been around for longer than that, close on to 4 billion. So when you take that and then you start talking about fracking or whatever, that is just not even a blip. That's not even a glitch on the scale of things when you start talking about deep time.
Well, you don't think that human beings got the ability to weaponize what, like the HARP program? You don't think that's real?
Well, that wouldn't do much to the planet.
But some people believe it caused the Haiti earthquake of 2010.
But most people don't read enough, don't study enough, and that's just urban mythology. Of course, I'm sure they've been trying to experiment on trying to control weather. That's why they have computers. They invented the damn things to try and predict weather, but literally they can't.
What about that move? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
See, you get asteroids in the immediate vicinity. One of those hits, it's a whole different ball game. A big one. But you get meteorites all the time striking. All the time. If you go out in the country and you just look up at a section of the sky in a half hour, you'll see 3 or 4 meteorites. Meteors. Meteorites are when they hit the ground. Meteors are just when they flash through the sky and burn up. So there's a lot of that going on.
What about that? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, I was going to ask you, because I know you brought the movie The Day After Tomorrow. I enjoyed that movie as well. But what about the movie that came out, I think, last year called Geostorm, that talks about, the military manipulating the weather? You don't think that's true?
But see, that is kind of egocentric because humans don't have the ability to control what goes on around here to that extent. The only time they actually came close to doing it is when the Russians dropped the Tsar Bomba. It was a thermonuclear device that could be varied between 40 and 100 megatons. That's 100 million tons of TNT. They set it to go off at about 50. Scared the hell out of the Russians and the Soviets at the time and the Americans because for a few fractions of a second, it set off an atmospheric chain reaction. And if it had been a bit more powerful, it might have set off a sustained chain reaction where the water vapor in the air converted to hydrogen and oxygen, and the hydrogen started fusing in the same process you use with a thermonuclear / hydrogen bomb, and the whole planet would have gotten incinerated. So we have the ability to do that. But the weather thing, see, the weather is too damn variable because you might have something you do, let's say controlling in a military sense, immediate weather, but then you got a butterfly flapping around somewhere around Peking, and that could cause a current that generates a problem that offsets what happens from the meddling, or vice versa.
Yeah, you know why you said that, I'm thinking about the Tower of Babel. I'm saying that they helped try to do that, but it's a fool's errand. I agree, it's a fool's errand.
Well, maybe one day we'll be able to do it, but we can't now. But here's one thing you need to do. Everybody knows about Anchorage, Alaska. They used to have this famous glacier right outside of town that was a tourist attraction, and now the thing has melted away. But Anchorage, Alaska is supposed to be cold, right?
Right.
What most people don't realize is that London, England is on the exact same latitude as Anchorage, Alaska. But London, England doesn't have a glacier outside of it because of that deep ocean current we were just talking about. So think about how London is, if you've ever been there. I mean, it drizzles, sometimes it gets hot. Most of the time it's temperate. And it doesn't snow much in England, but it is what it is. But on the same latitude in Alaska, you have glaciers, long-lasting snow on the ground.
Did they have a recent hot day, though? Was that in Alaska? Was that Anchorage? They had a recent, really hot?
Well, for the last month, Anchorage has been basically the same temperature as L.A., California.
Wow. So we shouldn't be concerned about that. It's just nature doing what nature does?
We should be concerned about it because we have become a force of nature. But all I'm saying is the planet will go on. We just might not be around to see it.
But
there have been approximately paleontologists and geologists recognize 6 mass extinction periods that they know about in the planet's history. And quite frankly, the rate at which humans are exterminating the various species, causing them to go extinct, is matching a lot of these mass extinction periods in the planet's history. See, we look at it as, okay, this has gone on for a lifetime, 2 lifetimes, 200 years, but in deep time, that's not even an eye blink.
Right.
That's not even a quiver. But we are causing species to go extinct at a rate that is only matched by mass extinction periods in the planet's history.
So we are a force of nature, as you say. We the apex predator on the planet, as you say.
Well, not just predator. We have been able to do stuff that can influence that. See, we are at a threshold, a nexus. And people don't want genetic engineering because they are afraid of it. But right now, the human brain, for example, only uses a small portion of itself. It doesn't have the remaining genetic equipment to do what might be done with the full services of the brain. There are some things wrong, like your sinuses, your reproductive system, they're set up for an animal that walks on all fours, not upright, so it kind of causes difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. So there are some things we can do to self-improve. There are some things that are developing in science, technology, engineering, and math, which common people just don't get. Like, we look at Star Trek. What was the famous phrase? Scotty, beam me aboard. You know?
Beam me up, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? In the last 2 years, the People's Republic of China has beamed small amounts of matter from laboratory to satellite in outer space and then back. And the U.S. recognizes that they've actually done it. They can't do a live thing yet, but they can do small quantities of matter, which, you know, that's impressive. The Chinese and the Americans have verified on a small scale in the laboratory that you can warp space. Why is that important? For a number of reasons having to do with physics. Nothing can move faster than the speed of light itself, space itself.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you can't travel 1 light year at the speed of light. It has to be less for a number of reasons. But you can warp 1 light year in terms of space so that the actual distance that a spacecraft would have to travel to get from one end of the light year to the next is reduced, and then unwarp it, and you have cheated and you've gone the equivalent of light speed. Theoretically, you can go to a warp factor of 11. What that is 10 to the 11th power. That's like warp 1 is 10 times the speed of light. Warp 2 is 100. 3 is 1,000. 4 is 10,000. 5 is 100,000. 6 is 1,000,000 times. 7 is 10 million. 8 is 100 million. 9 is 1 billion. 10 is 10 billion. And 11 is 100 billion times the speed of light. Theoretically, you can get the warp factor 11.
Mm.
Now, the math reveals that space itself on its own expanded like at that rate immediately following the Big Bang, as they call it in physics. They found that nothing is an unstable condition, so something has to exist. They used to say it's impossible to create a perfect vacuum because you can't make a pump strong enough to do it. Well, now they can, but you can't make a vacuum because as soon as you do, matter and energy spontaneously appear in it.
So you got me thinking about some stuff, Judge. Do you believe that it's possible that there are other life forms out in the universe, in the galaxy?
I don't believe in anything, but I have opinions subject to modification on acquisition of better data, analysis, observation, or calculation. Now, mathematically, it's impossible for there not to be life other places. In fact, they are getting pretty certain that there once was life that arose not once, but twice on Mars, probably on Venus at least once, and probably still existing on some of Jupiter or Saturn's moons. And they've been studying planets, and they found so far in their studies that 1 of every 4 stars has a planetary system. So you've got 200 billion stars in this galaxy alone, 200 billion, and the odds are that quite a few of them can produce higher order life. Now you've got 200 billion stars in this galaxy, and you've got on view several trillion galaxies.
I mean, this is interesting. I mean, there's a time when people talk about flat Earth stuff and inner Earth, like people talking about people living inside the Earth. You think that's true, or could it be possible?
No, there's a lot of life that lives several miles down in the rocks. They found, in fact, more mass of life lives in the rocks deep underground than is on the surface.
Interesting.
But you see, the deeper you get, the hotter it gets. You get down into the mantle, and they've got diamonds, pure diamonds, that are several miles long, 150 yards long, 50 feet long, 5 miles long.
I'm trying to figure out, because they feed us all this BS every day with this fake news and entertainment crap. And I'm trying to figure out, can I take people seriously when they talk about climate change or global warming? Should it be taken seriously?
Climate change is real. We have, in fact, they basically announced we've already hit the tipping point.
Okay.
So, in other words, we need to pad our asses because it's gone too damn far. Now, it's interesting that this country has taken every step it could, at least through the media and the powers that be, to emasculate it. But very much is likely to happen in that to need that in the next 100 years. You see, global warming is going to produce droughts and famine. There's a continuously increasing human population that's about to get to the point where, unless something is done drastically, we will far outstrip our food supply. You're going to have a situation with the rising oceans that a lot of land area where most human habitation exists today is going to be lost, and you're going to have populations fighting for the limited food resources and also mineral resources, which is going to make things very nasty, which will demand manhood, and now this country is trying to sissify itself and become emasculated. So that's not a good thing.
Well, let me ask you this one. Is this popping in my head too? Is eugenics a bad thing to really think about or participate in? Because I know eugenics has been a taboo subject for many in the African American community.
But it's going to become necessary.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because once you have a civilization, evolution doesn't work anymore. See, survival of the fittest is not necessarily the fastest, the strongest, the smartest, that which the most endurance. Generally, though, it ensures that animals relative to other animals of a similar nature that are best able to show those things will be more likely to breed. But see, Darwin's survival of the fittest actually just means if you take similar organisms, the one that leaves the most offspring for the next generation is the fittest. And in the United States of America, the Section 8 women who have 10, 12, 14, 16 babies by 9, 10, or 11 different babies' daddies are the most biologically successful, because they have more viable offspring in the next generation. But they aren't the smartest. They don't exhibit a work ethic. They don't exhibit those things that got humans to where they are. And see, at one time in human's existence, if you were too dumb, too slow, if you were too lazy, something ate you up. You became a lunch, a menu item, rather than something that got a chance to breed. Now, in a modern civilization, even the dumbest somebody, even the most shiftless, unworking, unenterprising somebody will not starve, and they can breed. So there's no selection going on for intelligence, strength, looks, or anything like that. So where is it going? Usually what happens when you get in a situation like that, the species goes stagnant and it becomes extinct. So if we want to stay around, we're going to have to do some genetic engineering. I know that sounds unpopular, but the bottom line is who gets to call the shots as to what characteristics are improved. Now, of course, we as black people got a problem, We always have every damn excuse in the world about why everything's going on with us. You won't get your lazy ass up. You play video games all damn day. You didn't pay attention in school and your grades were bad or you dropped out. You're a junkie. But it's racism and white America and white supremacists that keep your ass down. But you see, we have the means to overcome that. We just don't have the balls to. I'm sorry. But, you know, if you want to have a secret so you got daylight at the end of your tunnel, it's simple. Grades K through 12. Pay attention to what the hell's going on in the classroom, and you can get every door for the rest of your life opened up, or at least get your foot in it. We don't do that. And
yes, sir. Go ahead.
And we talk about eugenics. Hell, we can learn that. There are a lot of black and African scientists and Asian scientists in the world that are on the cutting edge of the technology. We just won't take science, technology, engineering, and math as black people in America. Some of us do. If you go to the Science Channel, they got all of these black rocket scientists and geologists and chemists and physicists. But we don't know who they are. You might know Neil deGrasse Tyson because they made him a weasel in a cartoon, you know.
Well, Judge, I'm going to be honest with you. The stuff you said earlier about tectonic plates and, you know, the climate and the earth and the galaxy, that's the most people will probably get in terms of that type of education, because you got a situation where you got, like, there's charter schools. They're really just babysitting kids. They're not teaching civics or things like that, the sciences like that anymore.
Of course not. And it's not a racist thing either.
Right.
These poor whites are getting jacked around, and they really get stupid. They want to go get taught about Jesus rather than the real world. And that makes them just as backwards. And they put up with being backwards because they have us to blame. Meanwhile, the rich folk are sending their kids to school. Like, you notice President Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, went to all the best Ivy League schools. He went to a high school that had a tuition of $45,000 a year, and that didn't include room and board. I almost sent a son of mine to that 20 years ago, and it was $95,000 a year then with no room and board. Now it's $125,000 a year.
And what are they doing differently at that school? What's the point of paying that type of money? I mean, why are they learning?
Because you get a vigorous education. And if you get a vigorous education where they teach you critical, analytical, reasonable, logical, and rational thinking and analysis, you got one hell of a jump start on everybody else around this system in the United States, where they're teaching feel-good crap, where it's not about the logic, rationality, and reasonable nature of what you need to do. It's about doing what you want to do.
Wow.
Do your thing. Do what you want to do, not do what you ought to do. See, the upper class folk get taught duty, honor, obligation, responsibility to the family, getting it together. Some of them are some lazy son of a bitches. I won't lie. I've met a lot of the children of these rich folk. But some of them are some smart-ass people. One time, years ago, I would give a yearly lecture to Yale Law School students, and it was about the representation of impoverished criminal defendants, the indigent criminal defendant. So the first year, I put this book list out with 6 books on it, and I sent it to Yale 2 weeks before I came, and I thought these students would just glance at it like your typical student. And it was something for them to refer to over a couple of years, you know, some interesting reading. I got there, and these students had read every damn one of these long books. And I asked some of them, I said, your ancestors started a law firm in 1821. You guys are filthy rich. why in the devil are you interested in the representation of indigent defendant?
Mm.
Said, well, Judge Brown, it's a policy of my family's law firm. And because it is, I want to be the best damn pro bono lawyer in the world. And these guys were sharp. I mean, I'd been an adjunct professor out at Memphis State. There was no comparison. I mean, compared from Memphis State to Yale, Memphis State folk are lazy. They won't work. They won't read. They got all kinds of damn excuses. They're doing this because they think if I get the paper, I'll be able to make some money. These folk at Yale Law School, they wanted the knowledge and information. They craved it.
Mm-hmm.
They thirsted for it like a junkie wants some whatever his drug is. I said, damn. And then I got to see it some years after that when circumstances being what they were, I got up where there were a lot of billionaires around. My ex-wife was a ski instructor, and all the billionaire babes wanted to ski with her. She'd take them on tours all over the mountains. So, you know, it's like, see, one thing is get some of our people or even some white people, and I look at how hard these rich folk work, and they're working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, and we bitch and moan talking about 30-some hours has hit the clock of the time, clock we punched in for the week. We bitching and moaning about how we can't take it any longer. You know, I got to get my 8 hours of sleep, and these folk are operating on 3 and 4 a night.
But to be fair, though, I mean, when you don't have to work for your living, I mean, if they work in
No.
no.
That's a cop out. Some of them are trust fund brats,
mm-hmm.
and they don't. But some of them work their behinds off. These folk that got the billionaires that made it themselves,
mm-hmm.
they work. Oh, they work. Every time you see them, their nose is in some paperwork they're working, or they're studying something, or researching something, or they're writing something, or they're making calls, setting up a deal, or they're analyzing something.
I agree. I can see that part. What I was saying with I'm just looking at, when you said that, I'm thinking about the Kennedys. Like, when you don't have to work, low-level jobs, when you just got the resources to do what you want to do. I can study what I want to study and not worry about how to pay my light bill or my rent at the end of the month. That's what I'm talking about, the luxury of having wealth to do the things you want to do.
Well, see, this is what I tell some people.
Mm-hmm.
I said, some people reach a level where what you want from them is not what you call work.
Mm-hmm.
But you want their thoughts.
Right.
Because their thoughts are deeper than your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And they come up with the ideas that advance the state of humanity.
Right.
They come up with the thoughts that lead to jobs and people being employed.
Mm-hmm.
They come up with the ideas and the thoughts that deal with proper leadership. See, you look at work as sweating and pushing paper and,
right.
Hitting the keyboard. That isn't what these people get paid for.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever been in the military, there is a thing that they used to say about good generals. Good generals were brave, but when they tried to get out there and show their bravery like ordinary soldiers, their ordinary soldiers would say, "General, with due respect, get your ass back behind these lines. You are the chess master. We are the pawns. We need you to play chess, not being out here playing pawn."
Mm-hmm.
See, but we don't understand that. Black people particularly look at somebody who's paid for their mind, and he don't do nothing. All he do is just talk and mess. Yeah, well, if he knows what he's doing, that's a valuable commodity, knowledge.
Right. And, Judge, when you saying that, I was thinking about Meyer Lansky, how the people in the mob who last the longest are the earners, the people that create money opportunities for other people. It's not the people that are the enforcers, but the earners that last the longest. The thinking people. You're right.
Yeah.
Strategists.
You think
Mm-hmm.
you can come up with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
See, humanity did not advance because of most people.
Right.
Humanity advanced because they had the equivalent of various kinds of Einsteins interspersed throughout history. They came up with the ideas, and other people eventually went along with them. Not that the other people came up with the ideas.
Mm-hmm. Lance, where did you learn these things, Judge? You had access to a lot of brilliant people over your lifetime. I mean, went to some of the best schools, and a lot of us don't have that. I mean, how do people get access to these type of people or ideas?
I had been taught from an early age that the secret was the books.
Okay.
I look at people and they want to rent a limo because their kid graduated from kindergarten and is going to the first grade. What kind of stupid mess is that? Or they graduated from the 5th grade, so they're going to middle school and they want to rent the kids a tux and have a junior cotillion for them. Oh, hell no. You're supposed to do that. K through 12 is basic. That's no accomplishment. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, sir. I guess it's just a soft bigotry of low expectations, right? Everybody, you can't compete no more. Everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a trophy. Even the loser gets the trophy.
You said it. Mm-hmm. That is going wrong in the whole system. And the bad thing that impacts black people is we had low expectations anyway. We didn't all get a trophy. We didn't get a damn thing. But now that so many in the general society, white, misguided as they are, think everybody ought to get a participation ribbon and nobody get a first, a second, or third place ribbon.
Right.
That just dovetails in with some of our bad habits and wrong outlooks.
Yeah, you know what, Judge? You say that, y'all always like talking to you because I be having these images floating in my head. I was thinking about when I saw Michael Jordan's Basketball Hall of Fame speech, how he was very, some people call petty. He held grudges from high school, losing his position on the team or even with players and coaches in the NBA. And that what made him great, though. It didn't make him bitter. It made him better. He was willing to hold on to those grudges to inspire him to be the best version of himself. And a lot of people say, he's so petty. That's why he was a great competitor, though.
Well, yeah, some people have different motivations. I know Magic Johnson, but see, Magic Johnson, I met Michael Jordan through Magic Johnson. We were all throwing a party in this big exclusive club in L.A.
Wow.
On different floors, so we put them all together. And when Magic introduces me to Michael Jordan, he turned his nose up. So Magic said, look, man, this is my mama's friend. Act like, he's cool. Oh, well, I didn't know your mama's friend, man. Hey. See, Jordan is like that.
Right.
With Magic Johnson, and I know his whole family. In fact, his mother and I went to dinner 2 or 3 years ago,
Wow. Okay.
Her best friend is a good friend's older sister. So we talk all the time. I've known the family for 35, 40 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, you basically family then. You know them that long.
Yeah. And they raised him to be conscientiously interested in everybody else and doing something for other people's welfare. See, he will tell kids, I didn't go to school to play basketball. I went to school to get what I needed to be a businessman. That I'm the only one in my family over 6 feet tall. All my brothers and my daddy and my mama included.
That's like Michael Jordan right there. He was on the one over 6 feet. Interesting.
Yeah, he said that gave me the advantage of getting a stake to get started with basketball. But I was always a student with the intention of turning it into business.
Wow.
And see what I hear now, man. Yeah, man, I want to play basketball. But, man, you're 17. You're only 5'7". How the hell you going to play basketball? You're not even going to play college ball because you're too damn dumb to do that. You won't go to class. Well, see, man, I'm going to be like Kobe and LeBron, man. Neither one of them went to college, man. Hell, man, damn.
But they value knowledge, though. They do value some form of self-education. I'll give them that. Both of them.
Well, Kobe Bryant is one selfish somebody. I don't know what he valued. He wouldn't even come to practice when the Lakers were in these playoff games. He said, just give me the ball. That's why the Lakers have so much of a history of being down and winning by 2 points with 3 seconds left in the game. Well, basically, they never were a team when Kobe was in there. No, it was just like playground pickup ball or an all-star game.
But you don't think Kobe was Jordan 2.0, though? I mean, he said, Jordan hit the same type of attitude, right?
No, Jordan will tell anybody. He said, look, I had an opportunity to score 70, 80 points a game.
Right.
Or score a third of that and get all kinds of championship rings. So what I decided to do was get championship rings and try to make a team. I used to get tip-off for the Pistons in Detroit, did it for 2 years running during the playoffs. They'd say the Lakers have more talent than we do, but because of Kobe, they're not a team.
That's interesting.
And see, if you watch the Lakers after they brought Coach Jackson back after he quit, he just said, I ain't putting up with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought him back after he sat out a year. And the bottom line is they'd ask him, why'd you bench Kobe? Because let's just put it this way. Kobe Bryant was trying to do too many things, and he was ball hog. So the Lakers, I remember one playoff game, the Lakers were down by 19. So contrary to one of the owners who wanted Kobe left in there, Coach Jackson benched his ass, and the Lakers quickly came from 19 points behind until they got 11 points ahead. They put Kobe back in. They dropped down again, snatched him out, put somebody back in there for him who could play as a team member, and they won the game.
That's interesting. What do you think about the Lakers right now with the players they have around LeBron?
Well, I always rooted for the Lakers. My old man took me to the first regular season game the Lakers had in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I always supported the Lakers is because of Don Barksdale.
Okay.
Don Barksdale never played basketball, except maybe he might have played down on the playground or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a scholar. He was a football player and ran high hurdles for track.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Kenny Washington was a quarterback, and he played football, and he wound up playing as the first brother to play in the NFL with the Rams when they were in Cleveland. Don Barksdale played for the Lakers when they were still in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie Robinson was a halfback, and he ran the 100-yard dash, 220-yard dash, and the 4-man 40 relay, and held the American records for the 220 and the 100 for a while. He never played baseball. He was a halfback, and all three of them were in the UCLA backfield in the 30s and made All-American. But UCLA got such pushback from having a black quarterback that they changed the name to tailback, and they still call the quarterback tailback at UCLA. So in other words, Jackie Robinson was the first brother to play Major League Baseball. He never played baseball. He was a football player and a track man. He went to baseball because the Army unsuccessfully court-martialed him for pulling a pistol on some crackers who were MPs and Texas cops because he wouldn't go to the back of a bus.
Right.
All right. Don Barksdale was the wide receiver on that same team, and he wound up playing for the Lakers. So I've always had a thing for the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Rams.
Hey, they all back in L.A. They back.
All back in L.A.
Yeah. L.A. deserves that, I guess. Great market.
Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Magic Johnson, a black man, owns the Dodgers.
Mm.
He owns a majority chunk of the Rams, and he owns 1/3 of the Lakers.
And he's the son of a preacher man, right? Was his daddy a minister or something?
Well, his daddy was a factory worker. I met him. Daddy's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Magic looked just alike, except Daddy ain't but like 4'10", not 5'10".
Well, I ask you this though, because I know you think you close to the family. What about Magic's son, EJ? What are your thoughts about him? I mean,
I never knew him that well.
Okay.
I saw him when he was real little.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got spoiled or something.
But you know, there's a couple of NBA stars, kids who kind of went that way. I mean, that lifestyle. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, I think Dwayne Wade's son, who's really like preteen. I don't know what he really knows what he is. They trying to push him that way.
Yeah, but look at Will Smith's kid.
Jaden, or both of them, like both his younger kids you talking about? Or
both of them. One of them wearing dresses.
But also he's feeding the homeless on Skid Row and giving clean water to Flint. What about that, Judge? What do you think about that?
What, clean water to Flint?
Yeah, and also feeding the homeless on Skid Row. You know, he did that thing, I Love You food truck, the vegan food truck.
That's charitable, but the bottom line is he abandoned manhood. I guess it was too tough for him. See, one of the dynamics about those of us who abandon manhood to be something else is you no longer are into that man versus man thing. You're just another hole to screw.
Mm. But you know what? But Judge, they really like. I was listening to somebody's interview some couple of years ago. They were talking about the Hollywood thing. Like, you can't make it as a straight alpha male, as a black male in Hollywood or in society in general. It's like you a threat. Like, we just had Bill Cosby's birthday on July 12th, and people, like you said, because he's a straight man and he's a black man and he's a man with means, he was a threat, and he was outspoken. Yeah. And so they don't like black males like that. They don't like black men like that anymore.
See, I've been talking to Isaiah Washington, who used to be on Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
He blackballed him because he wouldn't support a gay project.
Right. So that's real then.
That's real. See,
okay.
I hadn't had my show but for a month and a half when they tried to set me up. They had a big to-do at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I'm a bachelor. I liked to dance in those days, and all these fine starlet type were around, so I was dancing with a bunch of them. Wound up dancing quite a few with this one girl that we wound up dating for a few months. And we were sitting at a table. She excused herself to go to the ladies' room, and she came back real angry. She said, "Do you know that guy over there in that dark gray suit?" I said, "Yeah, it was the CEO for the show." And she says, "That bastard came up and offered me $2,000 if I'd sign a note he had drawn up saying that you tried to grope me." So we went around and found as many of the women that I danced with, and she got them to sign stuff saying I had not done anything to them. And this same guy had offered them money to say I had.
Wow.
And then you remember that letter that I read that time.
Right.
I got that a month after that. And that was in 1998. But the show lasted for 14 more years. See, I had to go through some tactical and strategical things to offset that. See, I know how they'll set somebody up. Now, to be frank, some of the black actors who are straight, they survive because they do something like, "Boss, sure is nice working for you, boss. You treat my people so well, boss. I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to work under you, sir." They come like that, and they'll apologize for it, saying, "I got to keep working."
It's like Terry Crews, right? But then look at Cuba Gooding Jr. Judge, who got, allegedly groping somebody, but he was in the middle of a custody battle. with his ex-wife. What's that about?
Well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually not interested in that kind of nonsense.
But you see the footage, though? You seen, like, the grainy footage? I mean, we in 2019.
I don't. Look, that is, see, that's not stuff that men were interested in.
Mm-hmm.
That got developed with this filthy habit that the country had fixated on soap opera.
Mm.
You know, or Beverly Hills or Atlanta or you know, Brooklyn housewife crap.
That's right.
Filth. And it appealed to the sordid nature of certain women who were bored and didn't have a life.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like most of the country now don't have a life. It's like they really into that reality world.
Yeah, but Judge shows knocked those soap operas out.
Mm.
So I'm glad to have participated in that because they were really filthy and obscene. What's Erica getting ready to do? Who the hell cares? See, like, for example, John F. Kennedy is supposed to have had Marilyn Monroe sing happy birthday to him at one of the White House birthday parties for him, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
From several sources that claim to have been there working, what she did is she stripped stark naked in front of the Washington press corps, pulled his pants down to his ankles, gave him a head job until he came, swallowed, and then continued to dance around to the applause of the D.C. press corps. Now, how do you think that would have worked in today's world?
He wouldn't have made it as president. He would have never got the nomination.
Exactly. So you switched over to attitude where that who gave a damn what he did on his private time, you know, it was about could he be president.
Right.
Now they're more interested in who you're screwing or who you may have looked like screwing. In other words, the stuff that's on the front page of the Globe, Inquirer, Star, or some tabloid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think the biggest political scandals in this country always seem to be the sexual ones, and they the least of your worries. It should be ones that's not involving sex that are the biggest scandals, not the one involving so-called personal life decisions or life choices.
Yeah, well, like a French president recently was in a car wreck early in the morning, and everybody thought he had come from his mistress. Hell, his ratings went up 15, 16 points.
Mm.
Over here, you know, it's like, damn, what is this puritanical mess?
Right.
You know, like, what are you supposed to do? Why didn't he tell the truth about Monica Lewinsky? What kind of damn fool are you supposed to be if you are married and you're going to say, oh, yeah, I was having an affair on my wife, even if your wife, yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah, but I hear. Okay, well, yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
But anyway, if you're a big enough fool to just come right out and blurt out, oh, yeah, I was cheating on the wife, you're too big a damn fool to be president.
So I got to ask you about the Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire guy who got the so-called pedophile Allen.
If you take the allegations, allegedly he's one sick puppy.
Right, allegedly. That's true.
I say that because I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yes, sir. Allegedly is a very important word.
Allegedly he's one sick-ass puppy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's nothing unusual.
Mm. So you think that, you know, is there something to that so-called, whatever they call that, you know?
There's something to that.
Okay. But, you know, but he's connected to Clinton and Trump and some powerful people.
Look, some executives tried to mess with me, and I found out about that when some of my sources gave me the lowdown on it, and I showed them to shut the F up, get out my face. They shut up, and they wound up leaving.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. They got some perverts. It's been known for a while. In The Godfather, there's that scene where they put the horse in the horse's head in the Hollywood director so that he'll have Sinatra analog, and when they're getting ready to deal with it, there's this poor little girl who is a child actress, and she's limping after this fool screwed her.
Wow.
That's a reality in Hollywood.
Wow.
And all of these boys being girls, and, you know, gets weird. They just become a sex object.